I had a question just then when I was reading an article. I need to go and bring it up. It wasn't SBA related, so anyone um, interested in this or that SBA related won't be interested either way. But there's been a lot more talk about sports gambling advertisement in arenas, in TV broadcasts, in all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Have you been to like sort of live sporting events like recently in Germany?
Uh, no, I don't think so.
Mm.
I mean, I went last September, October,
Yeah,
but I think I haven't been back since.
yeah. Well, I don't think it's likely for things to change that much over time, but um, do you think it's like more prevalent now in Germany than in the past, or do you think it's all the same?
Not
Sports
really. I mean, the
gambling.
last couple of years there were already quite a bit of sports betting apps, like especially Tipico. I don't know how international Tipico is, but it's like the major site here, and everyone knows it because it has a shop around every corner in a big city. And yeah, but there haven't been really any big ads, so to speak of,
Yeah,
at least live at sporting events.
yeah. Because in Finland, there's monopoly for Veikkaus to have like this sort of nationally, I don't know what's it called, like syndicated, like all the betting and gambling
Mm.
is centralized to the single betting agency that's government owned. And because it's government owned, it's like non-profit, or
Okay,
the profits are all turned into culture and sports enterprises that's like nationally funded.
so basically used like taxes to fund
Yeah,
other measures to sort of benefit from the whole sports betting. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So it has a very large foothold in advertisement, and it's sometimes the biggest sponsor for a lot of sporting events. Even the national top division in football is called Veikkausliiga, like literally after the it's gambling league after the company. So it's always been everywhere, but because I think in the United States it's different. Neither of us. Well, you've sort of been there or thereabouts recently, but and I know Canadians have a lot of reservations about NHL gambling advertisement and stuff like that. But I guess because now it's more wide scale in the United States, and it's a free market, or sort of free market at least, for companies to pop up here and there. They have a lot of like perceived like moral problems about tons and tons of sports gambling advertisements on podcasts, on
Mm.
YouTube videos, on, like the article was saying, in just stadiums. They have sports books in the stadiums. Do you think that's like, because obviously gambling is predatory by its nature, because like no one stands to win as much as the house. But do you think it's
Yeah.
like warranted, the moral and other uproar that's recently been brought about, even in the SBA Discord that we're talking about?
Really, I didn't catch that. But I mean, I understand it, especially when it comes to professional sports and sort of allowing, or how, now I have to search for the word because I know it in German, but I don't know it in English. Endorsing sports betting as sort of like a league and making it more likely that people that are already very invested into their teams now get invested financially as well, with a very much likelihood that they lose that investment because, as you said, it's predatory.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a very thin line to walk there. On the other hand, I also understand saying sports betting has been around for at least as long as I can think, even though it was mostly a side side thing, so not in the center of attention. But yeah, I don't know. I think it shouldn't be overdone, especially for younger audiences or vulnerable audiences, let's say.
Yeah.
Um,
More vulnerable and people prone to addiction and people
yes,
that are
especially.
uneducated or have tendencies to misuse their money and stuff like that. But you can't dodge them specifically because
Yeah,
if of your five largest like partner firms and sponsors for a like sports league, let's say like Major League Baseball or NBA or whatever, if FanDuel or BetMGM or whatever the companies are, if of their top five sponsors, two or more are gambling companies, then you have to give them the visibility they paid for, and they already earned that money by um, uh, I'm not gonna say stealing from people, but just like making money of people's uh, interest and passion for the sports, or just interest and passion for making quick money. And then it's like a rolling boulder that you can't really stop because now that they have all the money to sponsor your product and have their name more out there, just gonna bring more viewers, and they're gonna have more money to upend all the other sponsor bids. So I don't,
yeah, it's a spiral in the end.
yeah, I
You
don't think
sort of
it's
like,
gonna stop until it's like it goes back to hiding, and there's gonna be some sort of like federal um, bans or whatever they're called.
yeah, probably needed some regulation to sort of scale that back in the end. But I'm not sure if that will happen, especially like you said in North America. I
Yeah,
think there's some European legislation against that because I can't quite remember that many ads in the European context, even for like Spain or France or so. I don't know how it's in Finland, as you said. I mean, it's more or less a monopoly where the league is sponsored by the state of betting overall.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
Yeah, and the same thing has been sort of propping up in Premier League football as well, because who else has money in the world than like gambling companies? So, like in one season, the other season, there in the I think it maybe was the COVID year when the stadiums were sort of barred and people were negotiating new sponsorship deals. It was like 14 of 20 Premier League clubs had like a official clubs betting sponsor or stuff like that, and it's been more of a talking point there as well. But I guess in like continental Europe and places like that, it's always, maybe it's not like gambling companies that are the main sponsors, but it's still something as uh, how should I say it? Like sort of shady, because sometimes it's like
yeah, yeah,
Kazakhstani but Russian owned energy companies,
yeah, yeah.
subsidiaries of those sorts of things that operate half in the black market and do like militaristic purviews
Either
of
that,
possible
or you have
locations
some
for,
Emiratis,
yeah, that
so
too, yeah,
like Qatar funds is like in Bayern Munich, it's PSG. It's, I think they also have, I don't know if it was Qatar or some other fund with Barcelona and a lot of smaller clubs as well.
yeah.
So there's definitely still shady sponsors out there. That's without question.
Yeah, the funniest one I ever remember was that I think maybe it was Barcelona or then Atletico Madrid or something like that. They had a sponsorship of like it was this massive I don't know who, or I can't remember who funded it, but it was Visit Rwanda. And obviously,
Mm.
a lot of people might know that Rwanda is only like 30 years removed from a literal race war and genocide. So it's,
I mean, Rwanda is a very special case
yeah,
because I mean it's kind of dictatorial down there how it's ruled currently, but it's for the region relatively stable nation, I think.
yeah,
Also economically very well off,
yeah,
at least if
because
my memory serves me
yeah,
right.
because the state always or used to always seize like half the population's belongings and uh, their agriculture and their um, like half of the economy to themselves. But yeah, I don't know the specifics like that well. But obviously, I've gone to school and I've read about Rwanda in the past. So yeah, there's always that sort of thing. Like maybe it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know, because it's like, oh, like Rwanda, well, that's interesting. Or then there's just like some Qatar, or like some sort of a just newly constructed tourist trap in China, or whatever. So it's like tobacco. There in athletics, it's rare to have like tobacco or alcohol sponsors, but Champions League was sponsored by
Really?
Heineken for like 20 years.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, alcohol, at least beer sponsorships, has
Yeah,
been
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot in Germany.
Well, yeah, and Modelo is for NBA because it's for the viewer product. Like obviously for the fans, they can enjoy
Yeah.
drinks while they're watching the sport. Anyway, let's move on to SBA talk. Like this has been a very strong or unstrong, rather weak intro. But I don't think we're gonna talk about the new thing because it's not official yet. But next time we can see about that. It's
Now you got me curious what the new thing is, but let's wait and see.
yeah. Well, I can say you were asked maybe. Mm,
Ah, yes, yes. Okay, I think. Yeah,
like
I passed
chat,
on it.
like give your thoughts on
Yeah,
SBA
yeah, yeah.
teams and what's going on with them. So
Yeah, I didn't participate in the end because
yeah,
I got another big thing to write. But yeah,
yeah, I was asked to participate and I participated, and it's going to be like released this weekend, stuff like that. If someone wants to, I think it's gonna be all titled anonymous, so
mm.
listeners will know that I wrote something, but they'll have fun guessing what I wrote. I'll say shortly. I don't think it's going to be published, but there was just like Houston Ravens section, and everyone had their nice quotes and nice words about the Houston Ravens, yabba dabba doo, and I just wrote lol because it's like there's everyone's already shaking their dick, and that I've talked about the Houston Ravens like a lot in the past anyway, so I don't think I really need to add to it. I just thought it was funny that for everyone else, there's maybe some sort of hollow compliments and yes, all right, yeah, blah 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 blah, and then for Houston Ravens, it's just like actually like 100% sincere, and it's way more well written compliments as well. It's just not like great job, blah 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 blah. uh, yeah, I think everyone's gonna now if they catch on to them, they listen to this and catch on to the hollow
They will
compliments part.
identify which one you are.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, yeah, but I think they'll see through the hollow compliments quite easily in some cases, but all throughout the documents, I thought it was that currently the Houston Ravens are obviously right around the top of the league as well. I think in third place in the SBA. Yeah, third place. Let's get the index open. What's been happening so far this season, do you think? Because there was also a section on the Wolverines, of which you are part of, and
Mm.
I was writing about, yeah, how it always comes together for Vancouver in a big way. And I was surprised that, well, now just gonna spoil all my anonymous comments from the document, but anyway, uh, I was surprised that it always takes, or always, or had taken this long for the real upswing for Vancouver again. But with the, let's say, recent environment of the past like 7, 8 years or seasons of SBA basketball, I don't think it was like, I don't think people really cared too much that the Wolverines were maybe taking it a bit slower because everyone knows that Jeff is going to do a great job he's if he has the resources, and now that the resources are like fully actualized, it's already showing. So, what do you think about the immediate and distant future of the Wolverines right now?
I mean, so far this season, and we had a lot of talk about that in the locker room. Um, it was a rough start once again because what else would it be? Like a couple first sims weren't that great, or at least not living up to our expectations for ourselves. But I think the team is in a good shape, especially after Celts joined us with Leslie this off season, and we sort of managed to fix the hole that Mo left behind with his retirement,
Hmm.
and also got a little additional boost to our offense because that's the thing we are lacking the most from the younger side. But I think it's working really well so far. A bit of like an anti-meta team unintentionally, um, with like a fully defensive front court more or less, with the exception of Kells, and then a scoring guard to lead the way, which is not the way the SBA has been going the last couple, let's say, 10 seasons, with like Thompson, Werdeep, then Kunta. So uh, a nice little change of pace. And yeah, we'll see how Cap looks the next couple of seasons if we can add anything, a sixth man to the five players that will hopefully stick around for the next couple of seasons and hopefully make a couple of good runs at the playoffs.
Yeah, is the estimation of salary cap for next season still somewhere in the yeah, it is. So it's,
I mean, it's only growing, I believe,
yeah, but right now it
depending on
says
how many
it's,
people will retire and such. But
yeah, right now it's saying it's approximately going to go down by 500,000, but obviously in the season 73 draft with extra players, it's going to go up massively. And it sort of coincides well with Leslie Bonds now being in regression and like becoming even cheaper or just like completely moving off the team. I don't know if Leslie Bonds is set to retire already.
he's set to retire, I
Ah,
believe.
right, right. So then that answers that question. So yeah, I think it's like all in a very good place for them. And I think like there's been a lot of interest in all the ocelots. They've been very underrated,
Mm.
stuff like that. And yeah, Inferno, they're making this and that, and Minutemen still very good. But I just think it's like, um, with the exception of the ocelots, maybe it's for the other like sort of top 5, top 6 teams, it's just more of the same from the previous seasons. There's no cutting edge. It's just like good players.
Business as usual,
Yeah,
more
yeah,
or
yeah.
less.
They're like good, but not good enough to be champions. I don't think. Maybe if someone else wins the championship this season, like maybe if Philadelphia somehow wins the championship, then it's different story. But I just think it's like, yeah, all right, staying competitive, but staying second or third or fourth best still.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Philly doing this well this season. I didn't have them quite on the radar. I thought they would be a playoff team after adding Udoka and Iggy in the off season, but I didn't really quite believe that they would be like a top 5 team or even pushing for a top 4 spot. Um, so I don't know. Did you expect them to be there?
Well, I expected some other teams to be maybe better, but also like it's no surprise to me because Iguodala still has a lot of good attributes, and like Joe Kane comes like ready-made to the SBA just to be a part of this sort of team where you don't need to score and you can just
Mm.
get a lot of steals in a high pressure or high pressing defensive tactic, and then just like get assists to Udok and Rain. So it's all quite fitting, I would say. So I'm not surprised at all that they're close to the top of their division, but I would have just thought that teams like Ravens and Bullets, funny how that is, would have a larger gap to the next best teams already by this point. That's more surprising to me, I think.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Like the Prowlers are second in offense, even with, like some would say, very aging uh, Iguodala, and then also low TPE guards, sort of. So it's
Yeah,
just
but it's like the usual thing. When we talked about team building, I don't know how many seasons ago, and we're like, okay, the optimal thing is usually dominant bigs, and you have some cheap guards with solid defense
yeah, exactly.
and playmaking. I think that's exactly the case here.
Yeah, so that part, or just by that virtue, it doesn't really surprise me. I would have just, yeah, thought that maybe because Malik Washington isn't scoring 44 points per game, it's like the Bullets aren't right up there, or because what's the guy called? Gonzalo isn't scoring 41 points per game. They're maybe missing like 4 to 5 more wins than they could have, but that's not something that you could really argue is or reasonable with their sort of team building and
Hmm.
cap environment. And maybe it is like because if the top teams like Ravens and Bullets would meet in the finals, like I think Bullets' number one TP player is their point guard Cooper,
Hmm.
and obviously for Ravens it's Koenigs, but they also have like their second most expensive player is Kramer. So they've been able to sort of mimic the dominant big man, but also with the more expensive star guard, like closer to like Elena Rossi when she was in year 6, 7, and 8, or even 9.
It reminds me more of like the early 50s, I believe it was, where you had like usually one good post player and one good perimeter player, be it a point guard, shooting guard, or small forward. So you remember those finals teams from the Ravens with like later on then King and Thompson,
Yeah.
and I don't remember who it was in the early 50s. I know it was Jaws and Eyal, obviously at the start still.
But yeah, Sebastian Steele was in the 50 and 51,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
had, I guess, Adebayo and guys. Oh, Alex Wright was there for a long time, but I don't think he was ever like a premium
Yeah, he was
freeman.
more like the glue guy
Yeah, he
who did
was
all
more
the
the
small
MF
stuff.
Doom before MF Doom.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, Sebastian Steele certainly was one of those guys, and even Senna Sharp before that, because Senna stayed there for the entirety of the prime. So
yeah. I believe so. After the trade from San Diego back
yeah,
then.
yeah. So there's a little bit of that, and their main competition at those times were like Aviators and Wolverines, who maybe sort
The
of
good
had
old
the,
times.
yeah, they maybe had the same sort of thing with well, for the Aviators, I guess Same was an expensive front court player, and Strozak also was a sort of expensive front court player. But for the Wolverines, definitely with Joe Cooper, even though Joe Cooper might have been played almost anywhere at some times. But with Serrano, Jack, and then Cooper, it's more of a both sides of the coin, or perimeter and inside, instead of just one or the other. There was also a lot of comments on a specific team, St. Louis. St. Louis
Oh, yeah.
is they've also been like sort of doing the same thing for a long time now, and they're number one in offense right now, and they're number 14 on defense, which is
Yeah,
pretty
no
cool.
surprise.
But I've been like, because ever since I saw like Joy Boy and Darren Oliver get to the St. Louis battalion, I just thought like, well, this doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, because both guys were just playing for, I don't know, their stats or something like that. And
Mm.
now it's 6 or 7 years later, and yeah, definitely haven't gone anywhere in that time frame. Even Joy Boy is now in,
He's on the Corsairs.
yeah. So
I mean,
it's,
that's going nowhere anyways, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. St. Louis has been kind of the same team for the last couple of seasons. Good offense, but the defense is just not there. And as much as like Sir Blocks tries to hold that up, I think he's been one of the better defenders in the league for a while now.
yeah,
But it's just not enough if you have only one really good defender and then the rest is passable at best. That's just not going to work out if you want to move deeper into the postseason or even make the postseason. I don't know how many times they made it in the last couple of seasons. Oh, they made it quite a bit.
yeah.
Okay. So they made it to the postseason, but most often lost in the first round. That checks out.
Yeah, I think with a player like Sir Blocks, the rest of his prime, he can just like sort of carry a team to respectability for sure.
Mm.
And it's just a matter of having good players in other positions as well. And I think they can do it, because there's still a three, maybe more seasons to go. Because if he's year six now, then seven, eight,
Yeah,
nine.
but it's already year 7 for Darren Oliver, so you're kind of running out of time there.
Yeah, but I'd say that guy is dispensable. Like, I don't think.
You mean you can more easily replace an offensive guy than a defensive guy in
Yeah,
this.
and it's like you can have 60% of Darren Oliver, and then invest the rest of the money for other players in other positions instead. Because like obviously this is not enough right now, and it's like sort of borderline if year seven and year eight, like next season, it would be like they would be number one, number two in their division, just by the strength of those two guys. But I don't have much trust in it at all, because I've seen what I've seen so far.
But speaking of St. Louis, because we're currently on the topic, earlier today, I believe, um, Jack George publicly asked for a trade. What's your take on George and
I
him asking for a trade
think I
out of
maybe
St. Louis?
commented on it. Oh no, I saw that there was a bit of fun there because can't remember the guy who's behind Jack George. It's
Nothing but net,
yeah, yeah, NBN.
20 players who all only played in the SBDL, more or less.
Yeah, yeah, NBN, and it was saying that, oh well, in the first season, my first season, I had the best defensive rating I've had with 121. Now it's only 108, and I had a good hearty laugh. And then someone suggested that, but that's worse. And I was thinking, like, maybe he wants it to be bad. It's maybe he just likes high numbers, so better, a bigger number is better. So fuck you, Battalion, for ruining Jack George's defensive efficiency. But yeah, I'm gonna have to pull it up again because I can't remember what the reason was, like actually for
I
the
think it was not having enough shots, not having the ball in his hands as much.
uh, yeah, yeah. Uh, I guess it's fair. Like if you want to have more shots, then you should go somewhere where you can get more shots. Like it's simple as that to me. But I'm not sure if his build has just enough TP to get like amazing amount of shots.
Not even that. The question is also from a team perspective, because that's where GMs will now look at it. And from my point of view, there's also not the quality there to demand the amount of shots he would like to see. At least not in my eyes, because the
Okay. So
efficiency, the shot making is not there to warrant like the first guy, second guy role on offense.
the writing says that I'm not being used to my full potential, being seen as an all-around player instead of a maniacal scorer. So Jack George wants to
I mean, he
be
wants to
more
be the
than
man.
just be more than just a scorer. But I think that's just you need to wait for next or the season after that anyways, because you need a lot of TP to be able to do everything. So yeah, I don't think either party would be hurt if George would be traded somewhere. Like a lot of
Yeah,
teams are worse than St. Louis right now, I would say. So
yeah,
in most of the other teams, Jack George would have a better opportunity to uh, quietly develop the weaker points, like for a season or for 2 seasons, and then like emerge as a premium player. And most of the other teams are not looking to be as highly competitive right now as Battalion, especially if it's going to happen mid-season. So they wouldn't be hurt by acquiring a player like that. And St. Louis would be moving on from their fourth best starter. I don't think that's too important for them. Like if they can replace their fourth best starter with a similar quality player, I don't think that's too important for them. So
yeah. If they can replace it, I'm not sure who is going to trade an asset that St. Louis can really fit into their team right now. I mean, he named a couple of teams, and to be honest, Maybe LA getting rid of the dude. I don't know. Probably doesn't fit cap wise.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure if there will be a trade solely based on the fact that St. Louis will want something that fits in and not just ending up starting a filler or anything like that.
yeah.
Um,
And I guess for the Rush, it be like if you think about it like ultra pragmatically, then they'd be ruining their chances of a higher lottery seed more this season. And I think next season it's even more important. And then you have a good player next season, and you draft a rookie here now, unless you do the Goliaths where you draft the worst possible player you can at number 2 overall because you're just waiting for the next season or whatever. So I don't know, like, because obviously Cassie is like very fundamentally sound about like going boom and bust, like building through a
yeah, Cassie also
longer.
has a concrete plan in mind, has
Yeah, yeah,
fundamentals that you need to meet, and I don't know if George fits those fundamentals as well.
yeah.
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know either. So I guess it like should be something like Toronto or Charlotte or Seattle. Seattle would be all right. And
Seattle,
also,
I think maybe could work. Don't think Charlotte be the place.
well, I don't think Charlotte's a place for much interest. Because it's like, well, they can't trade. Charlotte couldn't, like, Jack George cost only like 1.5 million, right? And guys like Woman costs 2.5 million. So it's, they couldn't really make a reasonable trade without like making it larger. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, could be, but I'm not sure if that will be the move. But we will see.
Yeah. Best of luck to him because it's like if you
Yeah, it
actually
sucks
get,
if you are unhappy in your
yeah, because
situation.
if you're actually like unhappy rather than just making a storyline for your uh, the rest of your career, then it's obviously like pretty tough situation. So, indeed. Have you been following the developmental league recently?
I have to admit, I basically
Well,
didn't so
I
far
don't blame
because
you.
I was also away for a couple of weeks, so I only checked in for the SBA sims.
Yeah, I don't blame you because it's I would say it's been the worst season I've been simming for. Like, obviously SBA seasons are always much better than SBDL seasons, but this is like the worst because it's three teams win all of their games, and then six teams trade wins between each other, and then three more teams or two teams lose all of their games. So it's like I just, sometimes there's been good stuff because like Stevo is doing some sort of a rebounding record sort of deal, but then there's also a filler on Whiteout that is posting something like 20 rebounds averages, like average 20 rebounds per sim last or for the last sim, and set the single game record for 35 rebounds in a game. So there's some sort of interesting statistical stuff like that, but in terms of the like the product and the competitiveness, it's just like all it. And I'm more interested to see what happens next season if we have like a ton of uncapping second draft players. Then it's gonna be like a star-studded season of SBDL, I think.
I mean, is it worse because I remember a couple seasons ago there were like 7 uncaps, and that already was with basically no good freshmen as well. So it basically was horrible to even look at it from a prediction standpoint because you were basically assured who would win because they are the only uncap on their position. Um, is it a similar year this season or
Well, which season was that then? Like
I think
Exactly.
2 or 3 seasons ago, not that far ago. I just remember it being horrible looking at the for predictions and then seeing like, okay, we only have like 6, 7 uncaps coming into the season, and usually you lose a couple uncaps over the season to inactivity. So
Well, last season there was like a very strong idea that Hydra and Henderson would be the two best teams, but then Henderson didn't do well in the playoffs. And then the season previous to that, it was when Joey was in his last season as wideout coach, and it was like sort of treated as a done deal that they would be finalists when the
mm,
season started. I don't know, like maybe it was like way before that, like then
I'm
it
not sure.
was Aaron's one, and then or the Resistance won the championship then.
No, that,
That
that was a pretty good season because I remember I was part of that draft class. We were a couple good teams. I mean, it was basically resistance against hyenas, and I think the whiteout also has a good team.
yeah.
But it was like 12 uncaps or something like that, so it was a deeper class behind that season, at least.
Maybe in terms of the players like uncaps to follow and stuff like that. But because now I've been like, if there's a third year filler and stuff like that now, I've been
Mm,
simming for their entire SBDL career, so I sort of already have an affection towards them because they've provided some memorable moments over the past few seasons, even the filler.
mm,
So it's not that bad. Like maybe it is exactly how bad as you describe it. I don't know, but maybe it's not really that way because I don't like feel it from a player perspective. I just always view it as a um, like team competitiveness and league
yeah,
competitiveness perspective. And right now, I
yeah,
think it's in the toilet. But I also think it's only gonna persist for this one more season with the big snout player going off into the
yeah.
SBA
Class
lands.
player, I suppose. Great
Mm,
offense
yeah, yeah, yeah.
first, then add chance earlier
Yeah,
to
it's
there.
like Othello Hawkins 2.0.
Yeah, fellow Hawkins, Kane Fox Senior and Junior.
No, but this is like center 7'1", so it's actually like
Yeah,
there's a
it's really
distinction.
so it's really Hawkins again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But better X team. No 3-point shooting yet though.
Did Hawkins shoot 3 point
No,
shots early on? I don't think
maybe
so.
not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe you're right. Because
He only shot threes at the end of his
yeah, two
career.
seasons or like 7 and 8 and onwards. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a. I've also been like there's been a surprising maybe sort of amount of interest now because maybe because it's the resistance coach is like not new, but Keno is after Woog after they won the championship. So it's like there's a lot of like intrigue on wow, hey, how am I gonna handle this, and gonna do a lot of testing. And then there's Carson,
Mm.
who's working with Fonzie with the Barons, and there's some bits of intrigue there, and people are somewhat hyped for the rest of the season. But I maybe I shouldn't admit it to ruin the hype, but I just think it's like whatever. Because
Yeah, I mean, there's not going to change much in the grand scheme of things in this season.
yeah, yeah, maybe it's. I used to have these like premeditations like before SBA seasons. Like when I was putting the updates in for preseason, I was like, "Oh, how are the Ravens ever gonna lose this?" And surprise, surprise, like they didn't.
Didn't.
Yeah, it's they beat the Wolverines or what was it? Iron Man 4-1 in the finals, and then they beat the Aviators 4-1 in the finals. Like it's Why was I ever like even in doubt? Like I wasn't really, but and
I mean, one could say it was your fault that the Ravens won every time. When you simped, the Ravens won an astounding amount of championships.
yeah, 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 I know.
Obviously, just your fault.
Yeah, and I always take credit because like I made 17 championships happen or whatever it is. Like it's me. But yeah, right.
How is your your rookie Ben Simmons going? How
Oh,
do you
it's
feel about it?
pretty bad really. 'Cause I would have thought I'd have either more assists or more points, but because I have no like offense, like scoring offense in my build, and I
Mm,
like only have 80 passing. I don't know why I thought that. Like, what reason is there to believe that I would have more points or more assists? Because I like 1 season ago, I pretty much made my entire build to have just a lot of steals.
mm.
But instead, when I went into the season, I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna have some good, all right stats. But then I realized like 70 or 80% of my TP is in just quickness and stealing, if not more. So it's just been interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure this is gonna go very well.
But I mean,
Maybe,
the Thunderbirds they have been surprisingly good so far, and I suppose you are a big part of that with that defense of yours. So
maybe. I think
not that bad.
Boris is not bad defensively or offensively. Boris is pretty good. It's like,
He's solid defensively, I would say, and solid offensively.
yeah,
So
and Hendrix obviously is a defensive specialist. So
that's true.
I guess like I'm the third best defender, and that's like all right. But yeah, I just I'm rarely I've rarely been in a situation like this really, only with Toronto, surprisingly.
Were you ever on Toronto?
Yeah, with Trindle Anderson.
Ah. Oh yeah, right. Because you choose Toronto above. I don't know what else team I wanted to see you on at the time.
Yeah, me neither. But like it's only
Might have even
been
been the Wolverines.
no, I don't think I was ever asked. Like I asked Jeff myself, and then he was like, maybe we can do this or this trade, and I was suggesting him trades, and he was like, oh, I don't think those are gonna happen. Like I can't do those things.
Let's check up. When were you on the 468? Was that my rookie season?
Yeah,
Might have. Yeah. I think it was for the rookie season. It was like, hey, maybe we can bring Oko on, and I think one other guy. I was like, hey, that would be cool. And
yeah,
then you
because
signed with
that was like right after Kovacic like really started going downhill. Because
Yeah,
in
he regressed that season.
yeah, in the past 2 seasons, like year 8 and year 9, he was like really the like sixth best player in the league, but the team was just like garbage.
Shit. Yeah, that was
And
shit.
and then he started going downhill, and I think I suggested like I'm pretty sure I just suggested that yeah, maybe we should do this and this and this and try this and this and that, but I don't think it worked. And the other offers I would have had were something like Jokers, maybe. And if Underclass was coaching the Inferno again,
And then
and
it disappeared
yeah, like
again.
I think it was like pretty sort of cheap, and it was like middling teams and then like rebuild programs. Stay with Iron Man, try to do something instead, and yeah, just yeah. What I was saying, like where this originated from, was that I'm rarely been in a situation where the team is no good and not tanking.
Yeah.
Because with Boston, obviously the team was like sort of high end, and then in Pittsburgh, the team was always high end, And then in Charlotte, the team was always high end, and in Houston and
He won Milwaukee between those two stints.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like same deal. Milwaukee was high end,
That
and
was that weird 3-point shooting team with like Washburn,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yourself, McMahon, Chen, I
and
believe.
Zav Willie, and then
Oh right, the Steph Willie season.
I
I totally
think
forgot.
one of the former EFL admins was there as well. I can't remember the player name.
Yeah, Turner with Johnny Harlem
Yeah, Harlem.
also.
Yeah, so there was a there's never been well, I'm not accustomed to being on teams that are no good but also not that is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't like I don't think in the next 5 seasons my player is gonna account for a lot of team success either way. Like I think my next player when it comes to the SBA is already gonna be a better player than my year 4 player, but that's just because it suits better and is more of a just a defense and 3-point shooting guy instead of whatever the fuck.
Is that your second player? Are
Yeah,
you planning on doing one?
yeah, because I've already like the template is there in the SBDL right now because I'm on the team with Olaf in Resistance.
Ah, okay,
I'm
okay.
so my player is just like sitting away and shooting a lot of 3 pointers and making a lot of 3 pointers. It's much closer to freedom actually, but I don't think I'm gonna use the regression bank on this player because I purposefully selected like small forward and center so I
Mm,
can like play the premium defensive position and then also a premium shooting position sort of deal on and off,
mhm.
and I think that can be accomplished with like lower TP numbers for a long time than what I usually do, going to 1500 TP.
Yeah, going to year 8, balls to the wall, and then dipping out.
Yeah, but it remains to be seen. Like, I haven't really like after the first week of Sims, I sort of already saw the way things are going with the league in the SPA already. So I've been keeping track of like if we had some single game performances. Like I
Mm,
know there was we just beat the Maulers then, and there was some funny bits where Pavlov took like 40 shots, I think, instead of Cincinnatus, and I thought it was pretty fun. But other than that, it's just like I'm not expecting anything now or maybe even the next season. And that's
yeah,
already when my contract is going to be up, and it's going to be a doozy because I'm going to have a bad player with maybe high upside, but also what sort of team needs a bad player with high upside? I really need to reach the high upside before like going into business for myself, maybe.
yeah. I think the Ravens always will take a player who's currently bad but with a lot of upside because they can afford to do so because the rest of the team is usually polished enough to make up for it. Especially if you're like a defensive guy, then they are completely fine letting someone else take the shots while you sort of do your thing on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I'm also gonna specialize more, like, cause it's Ben Simmons. I'm not gonna have like high shot blocking and stuff like that. So it's a bit different from just like having 99-99 or 95-95 stealing and blocking. But it's still like
mm,
if you're gonna have 99 stealing, 90 fouling, and 99 quickness, you're still bringing a lot of value on the defensive end
mm,
compared to the players we spoke of earlier, maybe where they have a nice 70 stealing, 75 blocking, 80 fouling, even stuff like that. Maybe they would look surround themselves with players like mine. So actually, yeah, maybe there is a lot of teams because like there's a lot of players that are not great, but they're not bad. But if my player is sort of going to be in the in between of that, like not even good, but not bad either, maybe there is a lot of customers for that sort of business.
Maybe.
Maybe there also it was revived for a bit. I was talking when Tomato was here then about how the weekly series of trap hacks user submitted
Yeah.
messages was sort of starting to just be repetitive and
Insults.
regurgitating itself and stuff like that. But now there was like normal submissions, which was all right. Um, I
I
don't.
think Trap is also filtering out quite a ton.
Yeah, yeah,
Either they also realized that Trap wasn't going to post plain insults anymore, or maybe Trap is doing everyone a service and filtering those out.
yeah, yeah. There was a lot of things I like. The submissions, a lot of them I disagreed with, but also Trap Hack did a fine job saying the things I would respond to them myself in the posts. Like there was this message about Fonzie is probably the best or what was the most surprising GM I've seen. Mexico City performing great this year. I thought he sucked up until now. And yeah, everybody sucks until they're good.
Yeah.
And everybody's good until they suck. And everybody gets lucky if they get lucky, stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ocelots do well for the next
Mhm.
couple of seasons, but that a lot of that goes to just like Zeke having a lot of TP and good player build and being now committed to the team for multiple seasons. I don't think like half of the credit there goes to Fonzie, of course, because he's the GM of the team, but also like half the credit goes to Zeke purely just by having a very good player in a very good position and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Even though he could be better.
Well, everyone
You know me,
maybe
I
could be
hate
better.
inefficient shooting. And that's the only thing that bugs me with the Ocelots. They're a great team. And props to them for the season so far. Let's see how far they can go. But as someone who loves true shooting percentage numbers, oh boy, I'm not sure if they can hold it up in the postseason when your best offensive options aren't even going past 62% true shooting in the regular season.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Do you think it's just because the attributes aren't maxed out, or
Yeah, I think the attribute structure they have is not focused on efficient scoring. It's more like volume stuff. I'm not quite sure how FBB works in that regard because obviously it's working to a sufficient degree. Um, but yeah, I don't know. In my mind, if you would be more efficient with the shots you take, then you could reach the same production level even with less shots in the end.
well, yeah, that is how mathematics generally work.
Yeah,
I think for Rose specifically, it's because in year 6 already very high steal and block and fouling attributes. So it's just like either you max out the scoring like right away, and then the steals and blocks when you hit your prime, or then you max out the steal and blocks right away, and then the scoring when you hit your prime. I've usually been a very strong uh, proponent of this, like steals and blocks first, and then when you're the most expensive and the most valuable, maybe player, then you have the high scoring to boot as well. But maybe it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, for this season, I agree. Like I even said before, way earlier, that maybe they're not gonna go all the way because it's just like maybe it's not perfectly rounded yet.
Yeah,
There was also a lot of different things. There was a lot of prompts in the. So if you're listening to this and somehow haven't checked out episode 8 of the Trap message board, go ahead and find it. There's some good discussion, and then there was also addressed best GM of all time, and I was like, yeah. I even
that's odd.
I even sent a message in the thread, and Mans has really achieved nothing but gets the best lip service in SBI history. It's awesome. Like right after he won the Head Coach of the Year 2022 award, he's also done shit in that regards as well. So maybe in like 3 or 4 more months, he's gonna pick up the recruiting and the drafting and the good players, and then he can hit his prime right when the year changes again, so he can clean
For
the
the voting,
yeah he can clean the
fully
yearly
bank on
awards.
recency bias and be like, hey,
Yeah. Well, he's been in charge of a good team for the past 12 months again. Well, no, he hasn't really. Anyway, I think personal animosity aside, my only animosity is not winning a championship with Boston, if anyone's interested. That would have been cool. I don't think it was reasonable in the end, but still would have been cool. I think we have covered a lot of topics already, so maybe we can move on to funnier things and await the secret article I was mentioning earlier, and then return to talk about the secret article after.
yeah, have to go. I just received a call.
Yeah.
So,
So
I
I'm
mean, we
gonna
already got
go.
an hour.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go make bean stew, and you're gonna go take a call.
Yes.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and see you again.